At 6:30 in the morning, I looked outside my window and saw my neighbor screaming like a man who had just lost everything. His custom Honda Civic, his pride and joy, was completely entombed in ice. Not a little frost, not a light dusting. I mean frozen solid, welded to his driveway like winter itself had declared war on him. And the best part? He had absolutely no idea it was me. If you've ever dealt with a neighbor who made your life miserable, if you've ever felt trapped, powerless, and just wanted one moment of poetic justice, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe, because today's story isn't just revenge. It's patience, it's strategy, and it's the most satisfying winter karma you'll hear all week. Years ago, I was working on a studio contract. Short-term, high pressure, but good money. My girlfriend, now my wife, and I decided to rent a townhouse close to the studio. It was perfect. 2 bedrooms, quiet complex, a single attached garage, clean lawn, respectable neighbors, or so I thought. The first week we moved in, everything felt hopeful. Movers were unloading boxes, my girlfriend was excited, we were starting a new chapter. That's when I met Chad. Now, if insecurity could grow legs and buy a lifted pickup truck, it would look exactly like Chad. Mid-30s, balding but trying to disguise it with an aggressively tight buzz cut. One of the shortest grown men I've ever met, and he carried himself like the world owed him compensation for something. His truck? Massive, lifted so high it looked like it needed oxygen at that altitude. The kind of truck that screams, "Notice me." Then there was his other pride and joy, a heavily modified Honda Civic, loud exhaust, aftermarket body kit, the full Fast and Furious starter pack. He revved that engine like he was auditioning for a movie no one was filming, every single day. At first, Chad seemed helpful. He offered to move his car so the movers could access the house easier. I actually appreciated that. Then, after the movers left, he casually mentioned something. "Oh yeah, the last tenants let me use their garage during winter." I paused. "Our garage?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Mine's full, got exercise equipment in there, and I'm building a sweet motorcycle." He said it like I should automatically continue the tradition. I told him I didn't even have the garage code yet, that I could only open it from inside the house. He smirked and said, "Yeah, my old key doesn't work anymore either." Something about the way he said that stuck with me, like he expected it to. Later that week, I mentioned Chad to the landlord during a routine call. That's when the tone changed. "Whatever you do," the landlord said firmly, "do not give him the garage code, or keys, or access." I felt my stomach tighten. "Why?" There was a pause. "The previous tenants were robbed just after Christmas. They moved out because of it. No proof, but let's just say Chad and his friends were suspects." Suddenly, his friendly behavior made sense. The landlord had changed all locks and codes after that incident. Chad wasn't being neighborly. He was testing access. For a few weeks, things were tense but manageable. Then Chad started pushing harder. "So when are you getting that garage code?" he'd ask casually. I kept dodging. Finally, one evening, I said it clearly. "No, I'm not sharing the garage." His face changed instantly. The smile dropped. His jaw tightened. "You serious?" he asked. "Yes." And that's when he exploded. He stepped toward me, chest puffed out. His friends had to physically hold him back. "You think you're better than me?" he shouted. "No, I just didn't trust you." But I didn't say that. From that day forward, the harassment campaign began. Beer cans started appearing on our lawn. Empty, crushed, deliberate. If my wife stepped outside alone, Chad and his friends would catcall her. Loud, disgusting, intimidating. One night, he parked his giant truck across our driveway so we couldn't leave. Another night, he blasted music past midnight, then 2 a.m., then 3. It wasn't just noise, it was psychological pressure, the kind meant to make you move, to make you surrender, to make you feel small. And the worst part? I knew he thought he could get away with it. We later found out his father had been a local cop who died when Chad was a teenager. Apparently, the police gave him a lot of grace, which he abused. He walked around like he was untouchable. Then winter hit, and everything got worse. His massive truck wasn't allowed to park on the street anymore due to snow regulations. Visitor parking? Denied. His garage? Still full of junk, which meant his precious Civic had to sit outside. One day, I noticed kids had scratched his car and torn the cover. He blamed me immediately. "You did this because you won't let me use your garage." I hadn't, but the accusation stuck in my mind, because if he believed I was capable of it, he was capable of worse. After New Year's, I woke up to find every single Christmas decoration ripped off our house, lights destroyed, wreath smashed, plastic lawn decor shattered across the yard. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't random, it was personal. And as I stood there in the cold morning air, staring at the mess, something inside me clicked. I wasn't angry, I was done. That night, the weather forecast predicted a brutal cold snap, temperatures dropping far below freezing. That's when the idea formed. Not explosive, not dramatic, quiet, strategic, patient. At 10 p.m., when the neighborhood was silent, I connected my garden hose and I sprayed his Civic. Light coat, nothing excessive, just enough. At 10:30, I did it again. 11 p.m., 11:30, midnight, over and over until 5 in the morning. Every 30 minutes, a slow, methodical layering of water, freezing instantly, bonding to the car, bonding to the driveway, building, hardening, encasing. By sunrise, that car wasn't a vehicle anymore. It was a sculpture, a frozen monument to arrogance. I hid the hose carefully inside my garage, closed the door, went inside, and waited. Around 7 a.m., I heard screaming. I looked through the blinds. Chad stood in his driveway staring at his ice prison. He lost his mind. Full volume, neighborhood waking meltdown. He kicked the ice, slipped, started shouting obscenities. His friends showed up, tried pouring hot water. Bad idea. It refroze instantly. They brought out tools, hammers, shovels. Then someone grabbed a sawzall, and in their rage-fueled genius, they cut into his own tire and scraped the fender. I had to physically bite my tongue to stop from laughing. Police arrived, looked at the car, looked at Chad, shrugged. There was no crime, just winter. Fire department came too. Nothing they could do. They left. Chad was left alone with his frozen ego. For nearly a week, that car stayed stuck. Neighbors whispered, people walked by and stared. His once proud machine became a local spectacle. When the ice finally thinned enough, the car popped free, but not without damage. And in his final act of rage, he smashed his own windshield, trying to clear ice chunks. The irony? He destroyed more of his car trying to save it than I ever could have. The real satisfaction wasn't just the ice. It wasn't the screaming. It wasn't even the damaged tire. It was the shift in power. After that week, he never blocked my driveway again. The call-cotting stopped. The music volume dropped. He didn't ask about the garage ever again. For the first time since we moved in, he avoided eye contact. The bully had been humbled. not through violence, not through confrontation, but through precision and silence. That spring, my contract ended. We moved away, free, peaceful. Months later, I caught up with my old landlord. He laughed when I mentioned Chad. "Oh yeah," he said. "Him and his buddies got caught robbing a convenience store after the holidays. They're in jail now." And I just sat there thinking, of course they are, because bullies eventually overplay their hand. Revenge doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes the most satisfying justice is patient, calculated, cold, and sometimes winter does the rest. If this story gave you that sweet, satisfying feeling of karma at work, hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell me what's the worst neighbor you've ever dealt with. And of course, subscribe for more real-life revenge stories that prove one thing: sometimes the quiet ones win.